bro, bro. I thought that Tim's tweet doesn't even back up Nick, and that it's fine to want your bundle to be out because his is out, but people don't agree and they're cooking me.
Why do you think it's fine for Tim to stand in solidarity with Nick?
Huh?
Why do you think it's fine to say it's okay to stand in solidarity with Nick?
Oh, because I don't think it's about the take in. That's what I thought.
I mean, it's gonna be perceived as that. That's like, no matter what happens, it will ultimately be perceived as that. And like TimTheTatman is being celebrated on Twitter. You know, he's got 60,000 likes in what, an hour? That's a lot. Because the situation itself is like completely turned around at this point, and it's now just like COD is doing pride shit and it's fucking whack. It went from COD is doing pride shit and it's whack to basically like, oh, you're standing strong against like COD and Activision, which is objectively, just like every other corporation, bad. You know what I mean?
No.
Like, ultimately, this conversation started because either a, correct understanding or a misunderstanding of what Nick was saying, right? And then Nick's clarification did not feature like, oh, well, you guys are misunderstanding what I'm saying. I don't have any issues with like gay people, trans people whatsoever. And then Call of Duty took action, which was understandable. It's fucking Pride Month. I am a firm believer that if Nick said what he said on any other month of the fucking year and not like 6 months into Pride, 6 days into Pride Month, they probably wouldn't have even taken action. They wouldn't have given a shit.
Oh yeah. My thing was that it was not only the Pride Month, but I thought the main tweet having violence or whatever kind of makes it so he validates the violence, which I think is complete fucking dog shit. That's what I said.
Yeah. So, looking at a situation where like random fucking right wing dickheads that have traveled over to like Glendale to beat the shit out of people who are protesting, for who are there to support the school's decision to make to recognize Pride Month is insane. So looking at that situation and being like, no, actually the real problem is like, you're involving kids in this. That's not a good take. It's a bad take. So it comes across like Tim is defending that rather than just defending his friend, which he is. He is defending that. I am a firm believer.
Why he is?
I mean, I think so. Yeah. What does this mean? Like, it's not like, I don't know why public figures like Tim, like myself, like Nick, like yourself,
Like me,
don't actually fucking take the time and consideration to like really clarify their positions. I know it comes across like PR or whatever, but ultimately at the end of the day, you're a brand and you're working with other brands. You know what I mean? So as a large content creator, we all have the responsibility to conduct ourselves a certain way, in my opinion. Not everyone agrees with me on this, but if you say it like this, if you just drop a dime like this, of course people are going to see it as not just you defending your friend or anything, but you defending your friend because you agree with the interpretation, the broad interpretation, and how what Nick's statement was and how it was received. I mean, at the end of the day, if I think, for example, you were banned for something unjustifiably, I would come out and speak out against it. I have in the past when people, criticize you for shit that I think is uncalled for. But if I feel like you've done something that's wrong, objectively wrong, that I disagree with, I'll call you out. I think that's what friends are supposed to do.
Yeah, no, I was agree with that. I used to do that. Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean? So ultimately, this comes across like Tim is not disagreeing with like Nick's overall sentiment and instead defending him.
Oh, that's what it comes across. Okay, yeah. Oh, yeah. Because I thought personally, whatever happens, if I had a friend and then his bundle half was taken out, it would feel weird that mine is like left in it. That was
I know, but no matter what happens, there are certain things that you wouldn't. Like, there are certain things you wouldn't defend. Now, this is not what Nick did, but if one of your friends, for example, said the F word, right? Like, and was like, I hate F words or whatever.
Ooh,
and then
yeah.
and then they banned him. I'm not saying this is what Nick did, but if one of your friends said that, you would not defend them. You would not in
Yeah, hell
solidarity
no,
be
yeah.
like, yeah, you would not in solidarity be like, oh yeah, I think my skin should be taken or removed as well. You would actually probably do the exact opposite. You'd be like, hey, I love this guy, but I don't agree with what he said here, right?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah. Now, obviously, that's not what Nick did, and I don't think that that's what Nick did. I just want to clarify it like 8 fucking times so that all the dumb bitches don't like try to put words in my mouth. Okay. But the broad understanding of what Nick's statement was, considering how he said it and where he said it, was that, he thought it was a bigger problem that children are learning about LGBT stuff in school than like parents getting their fucking ass beat by like random right wing people. He might not have understood that that was the case at the time. He might not have understood like the actual context of the situation, but that's how it was received. So as a content creator, I think it's on him to clarify that sentiment.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that makes sense.
And when
Yeah.
he didn't do that, it comes across like he's doubling down. And then when Tim defends him, it comes across like Tim is doubling down on behalf of Nick. They will get a lot of support for the record. It doesn't even matter. Ultimately, they will.
I think this that the severity of what is said matters a crazy amount. Like you brought like saying like the I don't like, let's say, F word, then it's like really really bad, right? And depending on the severity of the take, then you'll like tailor around it, right? Right?
Yes, it certainly depends on the severity, but I'm not surprised even in the least bit that Call of Duty would take this would absolutely move in the way that they did when one of their top content creators who has a skin with them comes across like they're saying that the real problem is that is not like the real problem is the school is actually recognizing Pride Month, June as Pride Month, and not like people protesting that. Even if there wasn't fights, which there were, it's not.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous to be upset about that. I disagree with that vehemently. I think here's a big thing, and I think this is like something that a lot of people used to do online, like especially back in like the 2014, 2015 days, you know what I mean? Like Gamergate era, is that a lot of people don't say what they actually mean. A lot of people like to hide behind generalities and, vague sentiments instead of just like openly saying what they actually mean. The notion that
The dog whistle.
Yeah. And I don't even think like, a dog whistle implies that there's like an ideological underpinning behind it. But in many instances, I think a lot of people online will say, oh, well, like, I'm just talking about saving the kids and that you're a groomer. And they don't actually define why they think that. Okay. And I get this all the time. People are fucking constantly calling me left and right a groomer because I am in support of, in support of gay people, in support of queer people, and also certainly in support of there being like some level of LGBT acceptance in schools. I don't think this is grooming because I don't believe that you can groom someone into being gay by, showing them that gay people exist in society. I think you're just at that point, all you're doing is just showing them an objective truth. But people don't want to openly admit that that's how they feel. So instead they hide behind generalities. I don't think Nick has an issue with gay people, for the record. But I do think that he's been brainwashed by a metric ton of fucking right-wing media that has like terrified him and many other normal people, normies, into genuinely misbelieving that like, people are objectively, like trans people are objectively grooming people. And that, kids are turning trans by seeing trans people in media or in schools and whatnot. And that is not the case. Not the truth. And a lot of people in your chat are saying they are, but that's not the case.
Yeah, no, for sure. For me, it's always been about like, bro, I'm not in schools. Like, I don't go to school at these ages. I don't know how they translate that knowledge by navigating around the topic of like actual brute force fucking topic of sexuality, like actual sex acts or whatever. So I don't even know. But like, yesterday you made a good point. that you believe that they still don't do that, which is fair enough.
I don't. No, they don't do that. This is like, this is all stuff that actual fucking experts that understand child development a lot better than we do. They are the ones who come up with these educational materials, and it is their job to make sure that it's safe and responsible. And it's not new for conservative reactionaries to get out and be like, oh, I don't want my children learning this shit in school. They used to say this in the George W. Bush era about the theory of evolution. A lot of the Zoomers in your chat who think that this is like edgy and cool are too young to remember that time, but I'm old enough to remember that time. They used to literally picket and protest schools in an identical fashion because that was that was at that time the fashionable thing to get mad at. A lot of people just like react to whatever's in front of their fucking eyes. They don't really have like long held beliefs or things that they care about all too long, especially in the age of TikTok when, you know, attention is really difficult. It's a certainly
true.
a fleeting thing.
I mean, my takes change literally in real time based on the information that I gather. Which I think it's fine. I think it's a socially damaging process to learn on stream instead of waiting till I have all the knowledge and just go, hey guys, I'm the chosen one. I know everything. People usually argue the opposite against that. People say like, I don't think it's called whataboutism. It's like I think overall, I think it's a healthy process to show development, whether that makes me look ignorant initially. And that's fine, fair enough. Do you agree with that or not?
I agree with that. Even though people will nefariously use that against you and say that, and will hold you to account on whatever your former take was, because people unfortunately have no room for growth. Plenty of people on the left do this. Plenty of people on the right do this as well. I hate it. I think it's one of the most annoying things. That's why I routinely ban motherfuckers who will go, oh, backtrack, lol. It's not that I'm backtracking. I now have more information on the subject matter that I'm discussing and have changed my mind on it. I'm not a fucking idiot. That's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, that's what I like doing for sure. Yeah, it's people when they don't give me like at least the ignorant, because a lot of times I'm just ignorant and I don't think that's a problem. I don't think being ignorant is a problem as long as you're willing to learn and you're willing to and take new information. I try to do that as much as I can.
Yeah,
but people
I think
don't
that's
give
the
a fuck
right
about
thing to
that.
do.
Yeah, people like to just cook. People cook. They cook me up.
Yeah, because everyone ultimately wants to feel loved and wants like admiration, affection from others, and you know, you have a way of quantifying that on social media through likes and retweets and whatnot. So people go for slam dunks as quickly as possible without actually trying to have a conversation and understand the other side's genuine perspective.
Yeah.
But ultimately, if we're going to go back to the main point of contention, I mean, yeah, you're right. There's nothing wrong with like getting new information and changing your mind. That's the expectation. That's what adults are supposed to do. And certainly, if we're talking about like educational materials in schools, I think Hutch had a really good take on this.
Hutch,
where Hutchinson.
Is that the guy that plays Chad? Is that the Hutch baseball guy?
No, he's a OG YouTuber. He's like he's a COD guy himself, like an old school COD guy. He basically said, where the fuck was it? It was pretty concise. I liked it a lot.
So what we're saying is that help the children or whatever is like is the vehicle for the dog shit.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, but conservatives are very good at this. They do it all the fucking time. That's what they did with All Lives Matter. That's what they do by claiming that they're fucking pro-life.
It's like the Tate thing, right? Like, oh yeah, these girls are getting clapped. Yeah, but at the same time, dude, I'm making them rich, lol. So I'm here to make the girls rich,
yes,
pog.
It's reframing. Yes. All of a sudden, something that is bad and negative optically looks positive. Even though the pro-life movement could not be further from being pro-life, they still claim that they're pro-life because it hides a hidden premise. The underlying premise being that like life begins at conception and these are not fetuses, but instead like full alive children inside of the stomach of a pregnant woman, inside of the stomach of a carrier. It's just optics, and conservatives are very good at it. And a lot of people are, either willingly or unwillingly getting on board with that because they like it's a more defensible position.
Oh wait, say that one last time. What's what is in the position?
It's a significantly more defensible position when you consider it to be pro-life rather than we don't want women to have autonomy over their own bodies and we want to force people to carry pregnancies to term.
Oh no, I mean that makes a lot of sense, yeah.
Same thing goes for Save the Children. If they were turning around, my dog's going crazy. If they were turning around and saying, "Oh, we think that we think that children should not learn about the existence of gay people because we're afraid that they'll turn gay and that's a bad thing," a lot more people will be like, "Yeah, no, I don't agree with that. That's like a fucking stupid thing to say." But they will just claim that this is actually to somehow protect children. You know what I mean? And it's just propaganda. They're doing this in a deliberate attempt to propagandize their position.
Okay. Yeah. I think this is used a lot when people talk about freedom of speech. Like freedom of speech, if freedom of speech equals I'm gonna be hateful as fucking clap everybody.
Exactly. Here, Hutch said the protest was about a school district voting to recognize Pride Month, and part of their state mandated curriculum that educates kids on diversity, different types of families, contributions in history from LGBTQ leaders. What does leave the kids alone mean in this context? Which I think is a pretty good question. And he follows and he says, okay, so Nick and his wife want to be the ones who talk to their kids about prominent LGBTQ leaders throughout history and the fact that not all families involve a mom and a dad. I struggle to see the harm of the state educating kids on these topics. Do you feel like there is some kind of harm being contributed if a school district is teaching about, I don't know, LGBTQ members throughout history, historically relevant gay figures and trans figures, or that some families have a mom and a dad, and some families have a mom and a mom, and some families have a dad and a dad? Is that actually a damaging thing to teach in schools to children?
No. I mean,
I love the amount of people saying yes.
I mean, who gives a fuck if somebody's one thing or another if they did something historical? I don't give a fuck if they're black, white, gay, motherfucking Christian, Jewish. I don't give a fuck. If something pops off, something pops off,
Yes, but also on top of that, remember the other side of this, which is that there are certain kinds of families with two dads, certain kinds of families with two moms, and there's nothing wrong with that. That being a part of a normal educational curriculum is perfectly valid and makes a lot of sense to me. The question I have for everybody who says oh, save the children from that is basically, why do you think that that is a bad thing? What are you saving the children from? Because,
then
the follow-up always... What's up? Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, even at a young age, you'll say guy kisses mommy. That's normal, right? When you're even super early, right? So as long as it's guy kisses guy, also normal. That's pog, right? But like you said yesterday, as long as it's not oh, dude fucking that and that, then no, things get...
That's not age appropriate educational material, which is why people will often say that that is exactly what is being taught. But that is not, in most instances, the only time when children are learning about that sort of stuff is if they're learning about that sort of stuff in a heterosexual setting as well. And what you're talking about is sex ed. If we're talking about sex and sex ed, then that is, of course, for older students, which I do think is healthy and good and normal to teach children about as well, as long as they are age appropriate.
Oh yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah. I guess the question I have for people is why they think it's bad for children to learn about a dad and a dad, a mom and a mom, or that trans and queer people exist in society. Do they think that this will somehow turn their children trans? Do they think that they will turn trans or gay when they see that? Is that how they think this works? Because that's not how it works at all.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think I know, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes it's like people say, dude, you're so scared of having an opinion. No, I'm scared of having a bad opinion because I didn't think or because I'm massively ignorant about something. So I like to get at least a little bit of information to have a take, at least an entry level take, and then when I know more, I can have a better one. Otherwise, I mean, you're not helping anybody by having an early dog shit garbanzo take. Like, it's just, you're not doing anybody a service at that point. You're just being dumb.
I agree. So now that you understand that, do you get why people were upset, especially like gay people and shit, were upset about the way it came across? I keep saying the way it came across because like I'm not even trying to put words in Nick's mouth at all. You know what I mean? Like
Oh no, I get that.
I'm still like I'm still perfectly open-minded, willing and able to say, hey, like if Nick comes out with a statement saying like, oh, I don't have an issue with any of this stuff whatsoever, which he did say some things where he was like, oh, I don't care about this like gay stuff at all. It's whatever. It doesn't matter. And my tweet was misconstrued that like I don't have an issue with like children learning about like LGBT historical figures or whatever, and that June being Pride Month is not an issue. And if he had said that originally, I genuinely believe that Call of Duty would not have taken his skin away.
I mean, they took it away fast.
No, I know, but they probably made an assessment and thought and understandably thought that it looked bad for them. Because remember, there's like gay and trans developers too. You know what I mean? There's gay and trans people that play Call of Duty. They want to make it seem like they give a shit for 1 month and 1 month only.
Yep. I mean, that does make sense, yeah.
Yeah. Ultimately, it's still, a game where you're killing people and it's not that great. And there's a lot of cheaters in it. And ironic that a lot of Call of Duty fans that wasn't enough for them to stop fucking playing the game. But this is.
I mean, true, actually. What about the Bud Light Go Woke Go Broke? That shit's all over my Twitter feed every day.
Yeah.
What about that? What is that even about?
Bud Light. Oh, this is actually a really funny fucking story. There's some random trans content creator by the name of Dylan Mulvaney. She's like popping on TikTok, I guess. I had never heard of her. I didn't know anything about her. And Bud Light gave her a beer can with her face on it. Like literally one fucking 6-pack of beer with her face on it. And she did like a 60-second spot on her own Instagram. Okay? Not even a 6-pack. Sorry, one can. They got one canned. So basically, conservatives saw this and fucking lost their shit over it because Matt Walsh and all these other like anti-trans propagandists said Bud Light is trying to like, market to trans people, and that's really fucked up. How dare they do that? They're trying to make everybody trans. We don't want Bud Light to even market to trans people. Fuck you. We're gonna refuse to drink Bud Light. Then they started buying 30 racks of Bud Lights and started shooting at them. They said, Bud Light are groomers and pedophiles because they had a single 60-second slot ran on a trans person's Instagram page. It was like a one-off advertisement. You know what I mean? No one was supposed to see it other than like Dylan Mulvaney's immediate audience. They publicized it and everyone in America fucking found out about it due to their constant publicization of it. Okay? And then they were like, we're going to punish Bud Light for making, trans beer now because they're groomer pedophiles. Because once again, they constantly fucking say that any kind of acknowledgement of trans people existing or any kind of like, oh yeah, we don't have an issue with trans people, immediately in the minds of conservatives now signals that you're a pedophile.
Like a virus.
Yeah, they keep saying you're a groomer, you're a pedophile, and also, trans people are trying to trans your children. Like that's the claim. That's the most common claim that conservatives make, and a lot of people champion and also parrot. So It was literally for her birthday and for March Madness. And you know, she jokingly in the ad literally said, "I don't know shit about March Madness." And yet conservatives lost their fucking minds, made it seem like it was a national run campaign, made it seem like it was all over their face, all up in their face, nonstop, and that's the only thing that they were fucking advertising when it
But
wasn't
is
the
Bud
case.
Light actually losing a lot from this or not?
Bud
Like a
Light, from
snowball
what I
effect?
understand, due to you know, market conditions, has lost revenue, but also this might have actually had an impact, like a noticeable impact in their branding. People are literally not only not buying Bud Light, but there have been instances where people are fucking fighting people that buy Bud Light in bars and shit. There have been
What?
documented instances of people getting into altercations and even fights for purchasing Bud Light in front of other people that get into fucking fights and shit.
Okay,
Ultimately, though,
you know,
Anheuser-Busch is a monopoly. What's up?
well, you know, I used to work there, right?
You used to work at Anheuser-Busch?
Yeah, AB InBev.
Yeah, well, then you know that they're a fucking monopoly, and therefore, you know,
yeah.
they are an unshakable force in the market overall. So a lot of these dumbass conservatives were like, oh, well, I'll drink fucking Modelo instead of Bud Light now, which is also, I think, owned by AB
I think it's all
InBev.
dog shit, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't like it either. It's just piss. Who gives a fuck? But you just drink it to get fucked up. It's like a cheap, it's a cheap drunk
Oh yeah,
beer.
I think it's enough for me not to have the feeling I'm gonna puke from drinking alcohol, right? But it's like I don't like it, but I'll drink it a bit because I can drink a lot of it because I don't feel like I'm gonna puke, which is
Yeah.
good because it's not strong enough.
So
That's how I feel about it.
yeah. So conservatives got one canned, and some of them fucking deliberately turned around and like made a big deal about it when it wasn't a big deal at all because they're fucking little babies.
So they snowball the dog shit into like almost like their own misinformation campaign, almost pretty much.
Yeah. But that kind of shit, especially when it's about like trans people, it pops off, it bangs, and a lot of people just want clout. Some people are also selling counter products. There was a guy who was selling literally woke, anti-woke beer, you know what I mean, for like $24 for a 6-pack, like ridiculous prices.
Damn.
The Daily Wire is one of the worst offenders in this. It's a massive news network at this point. I'm sure you're familiar. It's like Ben Shapiro is a part of it, Matt Walsh is a part of it, Candace Owens is a part of it. They basically used any opportunity like this to go to factories and create their own dropship products that is like
What?
anti-woke. So like they did this with Dollar Shave Club, right? I think Dollar Shave Club was like, oh yeah, we don't care who uses our products. Like we're fucking pro-gay, pro-LGBT. And then they basically went, or it was a Harry's, I don't remember. They basically went and made their own product that they sell to their own dumbass audience at a higher price, at a higher markup, because they present it as it's anti-woke. So now there's also another financial component to this story, where they did it to Hershey's as well. I think when Hershey's came out with a statement about like acknowledging trans people, they turned around and said, "Oh, we have anti-woke Hershey's." Like it's a grift. They're trying to make money. They're trying to scam their own fucking gullible dumbass fan base into buying the exact same dog shit product that with an upmark. It's like a pink tax, but a stupid tax, really.
I mean, all that sounds really fucking stupid. If they got one canned, I mean, getting one canned is pretty bad, to be honest.
Yeah. But the point is they're doing it deliberately. Like Matt Walsh is not just getting one can. He's deliberately creating a narrative, knowing full well that this will get him a lot of clout and this will get him more eyeballs and this will create a more hostile space for trans people in general. Because he's a bad guy, straight up. The conservatives that watch him, those are the ones who are getting one canned because they think the situation is way more dire. The situation is awful. They're like fucking transing our children or some shit.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, I mean, getting one canned is pretty embarrassing. I mean, I feel like sometimes that goes and like devalidates your own movement when you do dumb shit like that.
Yeah, if only. But I think vitriolic sentiment is, super.
What is that
popular.
vitriol? I always say
Vitriol, like like exaggerated being anti something in an exaggerated manner, like explosive,
Makes sense.
like poisonous narratives.
You know what? I actually learned a lot today. Yep. I learned a lot
All
today.
right, well, I'm glad you
That was
did.
good. All right, I'm gonna cancel my retweet then. I'm canceling that. I'm canceling myself.
You don't have to cancel anybody. I'm just saying, like, I just wish that I just wish that people were a little bit more open minded and not see and didn't see things from like one side always, where they immediately are like, well, this is my favorite content creator and he's being wronged by Call of Duty and fuck Call of Duty, which fuck Call of Duty, by the way. I mean, they do suck.
Well,
There's
I'm
plenty of
making the
things.
buck. Yeah. It makes sense. I feel like sometimes I there's a small amount of respect in dumb fuckery that I have, and it's bad that it's because it's about a topic that's like that, right? But like back in my days, I remember like I worked so hard for a month being a guild in WoW, right? Me and my boy we did some dumb shit, okay? And one day like he tried to kick. We were playing a dumb game. And he said like whoever goes forward, we're gonna kick you out. On our first raid, and the guy advanced forward and he gets kicked out, right? And I was like, oh, yeah, I mean, if you guys are gonna kick him out, well, fuck you guys. And then I pulled the boss and I got kicked out too. And then they had to cancel the whole raid because we fucked everybody over, right? And
Yeah,
there's
but
just that
the stakes are low there. You know what I mean? Being a troll.
exactly. But it's just the nature of the behavior, like the absolute like it's just dumb fuckery, you know? I don't know,
Yeah,
but
no, but again, yeah, those are the stakes are very low there. It's a video game. You like fucked up and ruined someone's time and their day for like a little bit for a brief moment, but that's recoverable. But ultimately, you know, when you're a public figure and making statements like
yeah,
that, there's a larger harm that happens because like, you know, Nick has trans and gay fans that maybe even misconstrued his statement if that's not what he meant, and they probably feel like, oh, what the fuck, this guy hates me. You know what I mean? It's like
yeah,
the reason why you don't say the R word any longer. It's a similar situation here.
yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
Nah.
I'm
No,
well.
I learned. Thanks for coming on then.
I heard it took you multiple times to defeat the first boss at Lies of Pi, and it took me only twice. So I'm just saying.
The first boss, which one is that?
The big one, the fat one.
There was a police chase going on, and I'm trying to rush through it. I'm not
Uh-huh.
gonna make any excuses,
Uh-huh.
but I really wanted to go watch it. I'm trying to.
All right. All right. Well, have a good one, dude.
You too, man. Take care, brother.
Bye. Lies of It's P not pie. I know. You didn't have to one can him. Are Brandon Wardell and Adam Freeland still coming? Don't know. Dude, I feel like anytime I talk to Felix, I love reading his chat because at first, when I join the call, it's like 100% people being like, Hasan is a groomer. He sucks. Waste of time. Fucking awful person. And then, like, by the end of the conversation, there's at least a 30% of people that are listening that dramatically shift their discourse where they're like, you know what, maybe a common Hasan W. Brigading, you mean? Yeah, it's my chat going over there and brigading it. That's nice. Why are you a 4-month subscriber and you're saying like weird shit? If anything, I don't think XQC's community, like his broader community, has like a legitimate interest in like 90% of the things that they're saying. XQC's content is not like inherently fucking transphobic. You know what I mean? Like, what you think he has cultivated a community of like diehard ride transformers? No, it's just the ones who are spamming the most whenever I'm fucking talking to him. It takes a bit to step out of their meme and edgy mindset that they used to be. Yeah. Why do people correlate pedophilia and grooming to trans people? I'm just trying to learn. It's a common tactic. It's a common tactic to basically instead of like addressing their point of view, it's a really easy way to just like say, oh, this is a bad person, because everybody understands pedophiles are bad. So if you say like, oh, this entire group of people are pedophiles, like there's no reason to fucking like don't be around them, don't talk to them or whatever the fuck. You know, it's a really successful straw man. Saying funny shit like one can is probably the most effective way to make a difference in his audience. I left the right wing pipeline and started watching after you said how you wanted to suck a cop's dick to death. What the fuck? I love cops. I don't know why people say I don't. You know, how many cops whose souls have you sucked? Yeah, they used to say that about fucking gay people too, and now they're saying it about gay people and trans people. You know? Yeah. What is the social contagion argument? The social contagion argument is that, like, there are more gay people and trans people that are out now than ever before, and that's because the media has like started transing and gaying people. When in fact, it's not because the media has like made people trans. It's because the media and culture and broader attitude towards trans people have shifted to a relatively more positive space, which allows people to be more comfortable about their sexuality or their gender identity. And that is the reason why they are more open minded. The social contagion argument is actually one of the easiest ones to fucking eviscerate. It's here's a very common one that I use all the time, and I love seeing it being used in other places as well. Left-handedness. Back in the day, people used to prevent people who are naturally left-handed from being left-handed. So they would stop them. There are reports of teachers like beating children with left hands for using their left hand to force them to